Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. Today's story is a cute little LGBTQ romance entitled Black Roses, and I hope you enjoy. So, we are going to start off this story very stereotypically. Once upon a time, there were two women who fell in love. One was named Iris because when just the right light hit her eyes, they sparkled. It almost looked like a purple color, and it was a very beautiful and vibrant look, and she always had just this giant smile on her face. She loved the smell of flowers, and you would frequently find her just laying down out on the grass in the middle of a garden. Our other friend, we'll have them be girlfriends. Her girlfriend, Clara, had long, rich brown hair that always seemed to sit just right no matter what she was doing, no matter the humidity, if it was just raining, anything like that. She always seemed to have the perfect hair. And these two were nicknamed your stereotypical power couple. They felt like they could take on anything. They felt like they could do anything that was put in front of them, and were always doing it with a smile and helping each other and helping others. And it was just, honestly, it's a very beautiful sight to see when those two put their mind to something. There was one year back in high school where Iris was on a student council, and they were trying to figure out, they wanted to put on like some sort of Halloween party, and they didn't know what to do. And so Iris was, just chatting with Clara, because they were obviously high school sweethearts. And Iris was talking with Clara. She was like laying down. They were out. It was like a nice fall day. They were sitting out in a garden, and Iris had her head in Clara's lap, and she was looking up at her, and she was just going, we don't know what to do. We're stumped, like somebody talked about doing like a corn maze thing, but we called a bunch of corn maze places and none of them are willing to let us host something there, and we're stumped. We don't know what to do. And Clara got this wicked grin on her face, and she looked down and she said, "Iris, I know exactly what to do, my little flower. Why don't I talk to my parents and we see if we can turn our house into a haunted house? And we can have different rooms that people go into, and we can have, so we can have like the theater group. The theater group can be in charge of all the acting, and they can, have different areas and different rooms. We can have, we have that big backyard, and we can have the backyard set up to be like a dance, and then inside the house, the different rooms can have different things. There could be like a bobbing apple area. There could be like an actual like scary haunted area that people can go to." And Iris sat up at that, and just like her eyes, the light hit her eyes just right that made them look like they were sparkling. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Let's go talk to your parents now." And the two of them spent the next month, because they were trying to schedule early, they spent the next month working with the student council, working with the theater group and all of that to plan the perfect haunted house dance for their school. And it was beautiful. It was amazing. It went so well. The two of them worked together. They got all of their classwork done. They continued to do their after school activities, and everything went well, and it went off without a hitch. Some of the school still talks about it. That's still like a thing they talk about on student council, the perfect Halloween dance. the two of them were absolutely amazing together. And when they were off in college, they ended up going to different colleges, and it was a long-distance relationship that they had going on. But it didn't really seem to matter for them. They each met friends there, it was really funny how it worked out, because Iris met this girl, Beth, who was like her best friend at college, and Clara met a friend named Bethany, and they thought it was the funniest thing that they each found best friends with very similar names. And actually, they ended up, so like over sophomore year summer, right? They ended up all meeting up, Iris, Bethany, and Clara, and they ended up taking a trip to France. I don't quite remember how it worked out, but it worked out, you know, it happened. And they ended up like all meeting up, and when they all got together, there was like this immediate spark between Beth and Bethany, that obviously Iris and Clara picked up on. Like, they're smart. They were just like, do you see that? Do you see that? Like, do you see that? Like, I see that. Do you see that? Are you sure? Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it was really cute, because then the two of them spent most of the trip actually trying to get the two to like go on like a cute little date, and it ended up working. They ended up getting Bethany and Beth to go on a date, and how they ended up making that happening is they planned a trip to the Eiffel Tower. And while they were there, Iris like acted like she like twisted her ankle. She didn't, like, she was perfectly fine, don't worry about it, but she acted like she twisted her ankle, and Clara was like, oh my gosh, I have to like, I gotta take care of her, but like we get to go up, like we have tickets to like go up to like the top and that sort of thing. You two go. And they ended up convincing and like being able to like just have the two of them go up in like the elevator by themselves. So it was just Beth and Bethany in this elevator going up. There was just like a slight malfunction with the elevator that day, because the irony is wonderful. Like the circumstance that made things happen the way that they did. The elevator broke about halfway up. And so Beth and Bethany got stuck in the elevator for like 2 hours by themselves. Clara and Iris felt so awful at the fact that like that they weren't there with them, that it was just the two of them by themselves. But it ended up working out because the two of them had 2 hours to just talk and get to know each other, and then when they got back down, they decided that they wanted to go on a date, just the two of them. So they were like, they ended up going up to Iris and Clara and just being like, hey, would you guys mind, like, I know we came here as a group, but Beth and I were talking while we were in the elevator, and we would like to go on a date. Like, if it's okay, we would like to just like go off on our own and go on a date, if that's all right. And obviously Iris and Clara were like, yes, of course, like, go. Like, there was no hesitation. That was their goal. So Beth and Bethany ended up actually like getting together and going on a date. So what they ended up doing is Beth and Bethany planned a date, and then Iris and Clara planned a date separately. They both ended up at the same park, having a picnic at the same park. Which is the funniest thing. Like, the amount of, like, coincidences that happened to these two couples is astronomical. And, in my opinion, quite funny. Like, how does that happen, right? So they ended up going on a picnic. There was a difference in their picnics. They did bring different foods. Beth and Bethany had, like, you know, just like a stereotypical, like, there was like a cheese platter, and there was like crackers, and they got some wine. Excuse me. Things like that. Iris and Clara went with, like, they got some cute grapes, they got some chocolate covered strawberries, some croissants, like, just, excuse me, just like some plain chocolate. Very delicious food. Like, don't get me wrong, they both had very delicious food. But this is, I digressed so much on the main point of this, right? Because our main focus is on Iris and Clara. Like, Beth and Bethany were a wonderful happenstance that happened along the way. But that was just to, like, explain that, like, Iris and Clara were a power couple. Our real story is going to actually focus a few years later. They're 2.5 years out of college. They both have jobs. They live together. They have a house and a cute little dog. And they've been together at this point for, let's see, college was 4 years. They were together in high school for 2.5. So plus 2.5 more, that's 5.5. No, 5, 9. They were together for 9 years. Okay, they were together for 9 years. They were 2.5 years out of college. And Clara decided that she wanted to propose. Like, 9 years is a long time to be together. Those two were very confident that, like, no, we're gonna be together, we're gonna stay together. I love you, right? So Clara begins to plan how she's gonna propose, right? And it's a very simple, she decided to go very simple. Because they'd done so much together. Like, they were successful in doing so many things that they wanted to do, that they were more than happy. Like, she was more than happy to just go simple, have some fun with it, that sort of thing. And so she goes and she gets a rose. And she dyes, like, she gets a rose, and she, like, gets it so that it, like, dyes black. Because black roses, funnily, like, black roses are Iris's favorite flower. And so she just gets, like, a single black rose. And she puts a ring on the stem, and she puts a little bow on it underneath. And Iris comes home from work one day. Clara took the day off so that she could, or no, she just got off early that day, I'm sorry. So she got off early that day, and she was just, like, sitting in their living room. And Iris comes up, and she, like, sits down next to Clara and just, like, leans into her, because, like, normally they'll get home from work and they'll just cuddle on the couch for a little bit. Very, very cute. So she does that, and Clara just, like, pulls out this black rose and, like, passes it in front of Iris and just holds it out in front of her like this. And she just goes, "I got you a flower." And Iris took the rose, and she sat up and she was like, "Oh, I love it. Let me go get a vase for it." And Clara slips off the couch, like, quietly, and she just goes, "Oh, there's also something on the rose for you. I just put it on the, you know, it's, like, attached to the ribbon, like, it's just a little gift for you." And it's the ring. And so Iris pulls it off and looks confused, and she turns to ask Clara about it. And when she looks over, Clara's down on one knee. She says, "Iris, we have been together for 9 years. I love you so much, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" And Iris throws herself at Clara. They kiss, and she goes, "Of course I'll marry you." And actually, their wedding was, like, last Saturday. Very beautiful wedding. You know, they spent a lot of time. It was just absolutely gorgeous. There were black roses everywhere. And that's our story. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story. It was so much fun to tell. It was actually Chat's favorite during the stream. It was their favorite out of the group of the ones that I told that day, and I absolutely adored it. It was so much fun to tell. Anyway, I will see you guys next week for another story time. Goodbye!